Welcome to the Self-Help Empowerment Lifestyle Podcast. My name is Lance William Green. I'm a published author of many books. All of my books are available at lulu.com/Lance William Green. And remember, you can always contact me at lwg.corporationsgmail.com. So today I was going to go around and I was going to interview a couple of people. I have a friend named Solo that he was interested in being on the podcast. So I was going to go over there and see if I could talk to him and give him an opportunity to be on the podcast because he wanted to tell me a little bit about, his life and what he's doing and some of the things that he was thinking about. And I know he looked at some of my books and things, and so I'm probably going to ask him some self-help questions and some things about his college and other things that he's doing in his life and how he deals with problems and things. So let's go and see what he has to say, and I'll put that on here, and then I'll talk to you a little bit more at the end of that, and I might even put some music and things. So let's go and talk to Solo and see what he has to say. So here's Solo.
Thank you for having me, man. I just to give you a little brief look at my life, man. I grew up in an environment with drugs, alcohol, gangs, verbal abuse, physical abuse in the home to me and to also my siblings and my mother. Due to a lot of environmental factors, I did 34 years in prison. So I have a lot of growth, a lot of trauma, and a lot of things I've learned to deal with that I hadn't dealt with in the past. So, I look forward to responding to your questions today, brother.
All right. So, what's the most important thing you have learned in your life so far? Advice for like the younger you, like if you could go back and tell yourself something, what would you say? What's the most important thing you've learned the whole time that you've been alive? Or
I would have to start with the fact is that first and foremost that I am enough, that I am loved, and that don't be afraid to ask for help. As a youth, I didn't really believe that anybody understood what I was going through. I thought that I was alone and that no one actually really cared. But contrary to that, as I've grown and developed into adulthood and started to work through recovery, I learned that there's many people in this world who have went through the exact same thing I've been through, and that they would love to lend a hand to me as a youth. So if I was telling myself one thing, I would say, man, do not be afraid to lean on the people that really truly care about you.
all right. So, what's like skill or thing that you've learned the most that you use a lot in the day? Like if someone makes you angry or you're dealing with a difficult situation, what kind of skill or tool do you use? Is there anything that you have in your mind you're thinking to stop? Like I use 10-second pause button, right? Take 10 seconds and I get away from the situation and think about it, and then I give myself time to think, so I don't just respond without thinking. Do you do something like that?
Yeah, I've taken several different courses that deals with anger management, but some of the ones that stick out the most to me is like grip. And in grip, I learned Q-tip, right? Which is an acronym for quit taking it personal. The process of stop. Stop to observe and process, right? And what both of these tools allow me to do is first with quit taking it personal is that it puts me in the mind frame of he didn't do this to me on purpose, or she didn't do this act on purpose. So don't take it as if now I have to respond in a way to protect myself for something that ain't even that big of a deal anyway, right? And when it comes to stop, when it comes to observing and processing what I'm feeling, most of the time my anger is arising because not actually of what that person did or said. It's really more about how I feel about what that person said or did, right? And what that means is that there's something in my past that he just reminded me of, she just reminded me of at a time when I was either hurt or harmed in some kind of way. And in that moment of that feeling, I know that I'm transformed back and I want to harm that person in return. You know what I'm saying? So having them tools to get me to be able to pause, as you said, 10-second pause, right?
Yeah.
It gives me time to detach from the emotions that I'm feeling in that moment.
All right. So you were telling me that you had went to college and that you have some certificates and degrees. Do you want to tell me about any of that?
Well, yeah. Well, first off, I'm a certified peer support specialist. You know, I'm very proud of that achievement. You know, being able to be a service in my community, You know, again, it reflects back to when I told you earlier in the program about how you're never alone, right? This job gives me the opportunity to be that for somebody else. When it comes to education, man, I grew up in an environment that education wasn't pushed as much as it should have been pushed, so I was a dropout, you know, and it's funny to say that I got more education in prison than I did on the streets. You know what I'm saying? And I got my GED in prison. I enrolled in college in prison. Right now, you know, as we speak to this day, I'm just 2 classes away from attaining my degree in psychology. So, prison did provide me opportunities to be the person I am today when it comes to education-wise. Because on the streets, I didn't really have time to really understand how valuable an education is. Because when you become educated, your opportunities become that much more vast. You got more opportunities with the more things that you have. The more knowledge, the more classes, the more certifications, the more you have different opportunities. When you don't have education, you limit those things.
Do you plan on using that psychology degree for like a business or something, or is this for your personal, know?
It's for both, right? You know, I have a nonprofit called Boldly Building Brothers, founded with me and a good friend of mine. And what the purpose of the degree and the certifications and continue to educate myself for is first to get a real understanding of what's going on, what's taking place, right? I need to know what's going on, not just assume and think. And so when it comes to working in the community, you know, psychology in the Black and urban communities is frowned upon. You know, your family doesn't go and want to talk about and talk to a psychologist, right? That they're trying to keep the family secret. They're trying to hold on.
Yeah.
I'm trying to pull that curtain down and say, listen, when something is going on, talk about it. You should not be ashamed to talk about the things that are dysfunction in your life, right? Because when you're dysfunction, that means you're not functioning correctly. And if we're scared to go to the people who actually can help you, how do we get help, right? How do we get help? So because I come from there, I'm hoping that you can see me in you, and you're more willing to now come and ask for that help.
You know, I suppose maybe in many families that they're afraid to go to a psychologist or something like that because they don't want the law or the police or the government to get involved, because that usually causes more problems. So yeah, I can see why that would be. You said you had a nonprofit. What is? You want to tell me about that? Because I'm interested in the business end of things too, not only the self-help.
Yeah. So again, when when it started off as something small, man, that, you know, we were doing when I was incarcerated in prison. And the foundations of Boldly Building Brothers is that first and foremost, the definition of a man, right? There's so many definitions of what people think a man is. Well, my definition is you're loving, you're supportive, you're a listener, you're vulnerable, and all of those things will help you be not only a man, it helps you be a better human being, right?
Yeah.
We're so detached as men from our feelings that we're not put together correctly, because things are being taken out of us as a child. You don't cry, you don't show weakness. The only thing you do is you show violence. So you're taking half of the man and you're removing them from the spirit, from the emotional factors, right?
Yeah.
So we're trying to bring that back and show that a man is kind. He's loving. Yes, he is strong. Yes, he is a protector. But that's not only who he is. Yes, he will provide. But that doesn't mean my wife can't provide. Right?
All right. All right. So there's another question I wanted to ask you. In your life, what would you say that you've changed the most about yourself to better yourself?
Well, I think first it would have to start with sobriety. You know, when the many years of drinking and smoking, my decision making was just not where it was supposed to be, you know. And being sober, having a clear mind, I was able to deal with things more rationally, right? Have better thoughts, have better reactions. But I think the most impactful thing that I've done is to stop lying to myself.
No denial, yeah.
Because as I was denying and minimizing and rationalizing my behaviors, right? They just became more and more sporadic. It was just like taking that rock and just rolling it down the hill.
Yeah.
You know, there was no breaks because there was no breaks because I gave myself excuse after excuse after excuse after excuse to continue the behavior. So being honest with myself and being accountable for the things that I've done to not only others but also to myself.
I think that is where you got to start. You have to admit there's a problem. You can't fix what you don't see, you know, and then you have to be honest with yourself. You can't be in denial. You can't be telling yourself, "Oh, I'm not going to do these drugs today," and then go and do it. You know, I mean, you have to keep your word to yourself. I have a thing called say do. Do what you say, you know. Yeah. But first, you have to realize there is a problem before you can start to fix it. Like, when did you decide or make up in your mind that you were going to stop doing drugs or alcohol? Or I believe that stuff is self-inflicted. I don't believe that it's a disease, because you can't decide you're not going to have cancer. Or you're not going to decide that you don't have something else wrong with you. But that you could say, well, I'm not going to go to the store today and buy that 40. I'm going to go out and look for a job. Or I'm not going to go buy that crack today and stay in my garage and get high all day. I'm going to go do something positive. You can make up your mind and you can make the choice. So, like, when in your brain did you decide, no, this stuff is holding me back, I'm not doing it no more, I want to do something better with my life? When did you think that occurred in your life?
So the first spark of real desire to change came when, back in being incarcerated, I was up in High Desert State Prison, and it's real far from where I'm from, and my mother and them had planned for months that they were going to come up there and see me and bring my kids, and it was going to be a nice visit, man. And instead of looking forward and being true to that event coming up in my life, I decided to go out and participate in some activities on the yard that got me placed in administrative segregation.
Yeah.
So when my mother came to the visit, I was behind the glass. My mother couldn't even touch me, and my mother cried that day. And of course, seeing my mother cry broke me down, had me crying, and she just asked me. She was like, Nicholas, are you ever gonna do right? Are you ever gonna start to realize the harm that you're continually doing to yourself, right? And when I went, after I went back to my little tiny cell that day, man, I really thought about it, and but that still wasn't enough. But so as it turned out, that was the last time I ever seen my mother alive. Right? So that was the second part that I'm sitting in here and I'm going, damn. I literally threw away the chance to actually hug, kiss, and touch my mother. because of the choices I'm making.
Well, you turned it into a positive though, and you decided to stop and change your life and start going for me. I realized doing drugs and drinking and all that, it's just holding me back. It's keeping me like stupid, dumbed down. I could be doing all this great stuff, except I'm putting all my energy into getting high or getting drunk, and especially like with my book writing and stuff like that. I don't do drugs or anything, and now I'm writing books. I'm starting companies. I'm doing all kinds of things. I got podcasts. I'm actually doing real things. I just figured, I found out. I stopped lying to myself. I stopped being in denial, and I realized that how can I run a corporation? How can I do all this stuff if I'm getting drunk every day? I'm getting high, and then I'm looking around for drugs all the time. You can't do that. So I realized that I can either have all kinds of things, books, I can have companies, I can, have family and do all that, or I can do drugs all day or drink all day and then not be able to do that, because I realized I can't run a company. I can't do all that. It's like you don't even want nobody working for you like at McDonald's, or if they're high on drugs and drunk all the time. You know what I mean? They can't even function for that. They're not even going to show up to work. So, why would I want to do that to myself? Because I'm doing that to myself where I'm just holding myself back. So I finally, that clicked in my brain that I can either have all this stuff or I can be getting drunk and high. And I stopped myself from doing that. And that's how, like when I wrote some of my books, I based it all on the things that I did that worked for me. And that's how I came to the conclusion that all this talk about drugs, alcohol addiction is a disease. I'm like, well, wait a minute. I could just stop myself and make the right choice, and not be in denial and hold myself accountable. And then I can make the things that I want to make happen. I can write it out, I can follow the steps, and I can actually do some things. So I think that interview with Solo, it went pretty well. I'm pretty proud of the guy. He's a smart guy, and he's doing a lot of things with his life. He's really changed himself. So, he's working hard on his college and other degrees and things. And, I hope maybe I can have him on here again. Maybe after he gets his college degrees, he'll come back and talk to me. I'd like to talk to him a little bit more about business, and maybe there's some other opportunities we can work together. So it's kind of cool hearing it from him and getting him on here on the podcast. I hope I'll get him on here again in a couple months or so. So remember, all of my books are available at lulu.com/Lance William Green. And, if you want to comment or you like the show or you want to hear something else, you can contact me at lwg.corporationsgmail.com. And remember to like and subscribe. It helps me to get my podcasts and videos out to more people. So stay tuned and make sure you check often, because sometimes I'm able to post a couple times a week, or usually I am able to do it at least a week. I'm trying to make sure that I post as often as possible. I probably will be having some other guests coming on here soon, and I should have some more music, and I'm probably going to start singing my songs and things, and I also am going to start doing more courses with my books. So maybe be reading some of my stories, and then I also might be reading some of the things from my other books, my self-help empowerment lifestyle books and my self-help business empowerment lifestyle books. I do plan on offering some video courses and things in the future, but right now it's just going to be the voice podcast. So, all right, make sure you tune in and like and subscribe. Thank you.